Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to In the Studio, presented by 100tb.com. Make sure you visit them at 100tb.com and check out what they do. They have dedicated servers, cloud servers, as well as content delivery services to make all of your digital needs a little bit easier. I'm Zyori, your host, and we've got another good episode lined up today. We've only got one guest that isn't in the studio with us, but it's a good one. We'll have Lumi joining us for the third segment today and a little bit in our second segment. We've got Demon back with us here in the studio. Jimmy, how are you?
Depressed, dude.
Yeah, sorry to hear.
Yeah, it happens.
You lost to Blood Psycha.
Lost to EG, dude. Lost to PPD.
Is he in your head now?
Fuck that guy, dude. Whatever.
Jesus. All right, well, we'll get into that in a little bit here. We've got Merlini back with us. Hello, Ben.
Hello, how's it going?
It's going very well. Glad you could join us once again. You were off last week, so now we got you. We got Jimmy back to wrangle you in. Flamethrowers ready.
Jimmy's ready.
And we've got LD, our Skype man today. Got to have a David on the Skype. Seems to be the good luck charm.
I'm all about it. I'm on it. I got this shit on lock. Is
Yeah.
that what I'm supposed to say? Something like that?
Something like that. Confidence in your Skype skills, LD. So today we're
Oh,
gonna...
I can Skype.
Oh, I can Skype. I got a mean Skype. Today we're going to talk all things Star Ladder. We're going to talk the new team that Fluff is a part of, and we're also going to talk everything TI4. Our whole second segment is going to be dedicated to the road to TI4. We're going to do some power rankings, talk about the format, and give our 2 cents. So first up, boys, let's talk a little bit of Star Ladder. LD, you were on Star Ladder EU coverage this morning. It was supposed to be an epic Navi day with 3 games. Turns out
Oh, it was epic.
it was an epic singleton
Epically
game
easy.
kind of day. Jeez. So that really brings us to our first topic of discussion here. This idea of walkovers in Star Ladder. It seems to be quite the epidemic. And you know what? Maybe we should talk about Star Ladder EU and the possible scenarios here, because there's still one day to go.
Yeah. Starladder EU is still a mess. Alliance is not happy. Starladder is probably not happy. Some of the teams that benefited from the walkovers might be happy, but basically what happened today was you had Insane, who couldn't field 5. It sounds like the roster's in disarray, so I consider that kind of like a special case. Teams reform. It happens. Sometimes you forfeit. But then you have Sigma, who has 5, apparently couldn't field a roster of 5 that didn't use too many stand-ins, so I guess they're changing their roster. Or disbanding, potentially. So they just forfeited, flat out. And as a result, because they forfeit to Navi, Alliance now has a much tougher road. Because even if Alliance loses tomorrow, they'll still end up tied with Alliance, and they beat Alliance head-to-head. So in any tiebreak scenario, Navi will have the leg up. And they got there with, I think it was 3 forfeits. 2 today and 1 the other day.
Yes.
I believe that's correct.
That sounds about right.
At least 2 forfeits just today.
Yeah,
so.
at least, there was one the other day as well. I forget who it was up against now, but they were a no-show.
Yeah, there were. I think there was one the other day as well. So.
Yeah. So the ideal scenario for all of you Alliance fans out there is if Navi win their one remaining match tomorrow, which is versus the retry, seems like pretty likely, and Roxkiss have their last match against Empire. And right now, Roxkiss and Empire are kind of battling out for those top seats. Hey, Jimmy.
Just waving to them.
Waving to all your fans out there. So the ideal Alliance scenario, though, is Navi wins over the retry and Roxkiss loses to Empire. And in that case, both Roxkiss and Navi would have a head-to-head over Alliance and Cloud9, and there would be a 3-way tiebreak between Cloud9 Alliance and Roxkiss. Does that sound right, LD?
Well, I think if Navi wins tomorrow, they finish top 2. So they would not be involved in the tiebreak. It would be Roxkiss, Alliance, and Cloud9.
Yes.
And those teams are each 1-1 if you look at their head-to-head. So then it would go to a playoff. So that's the scenario you root for as an Alliance fan.
Right, where they at least have a chance to play their way to make it into the top 4.
Any other scenario, there's another scenario where they can just tie with Cloud9 for 4th place, but Cloud9 beat them. So Cloud9 would advance in that scenario. And there's the one other scenario I think you were mentioning where there's a 4-way tie. And in a 4-way tie, there's 2 teams that are 2-1. There's 2 that are 1 or 2, vying for 3 spots. I don't actually know what happens there. And I think it should just go to a playoff for that last spot, at least, between the 2 teams. But it just gets messy, man. Group stages just get messy when it's all coming down to tiebreakers. 16 teams, round robin.
This is not an easy tiebreak scenario to work out in our head. We only have a few games to go, but things are going to go down to the wire here for our last day. So just to give a recap of Star Ladder in general, the truly global event will have DKIG hailing from the Chinese qualifier, MVP Phoenix from Korea, America EG, and then EU. It's looking like Empire is the only team that's completely safe. So we'll definitely see Empire, and then it will be either Navi, Roxkiss, Cloud9, or Alliance. Some mixture of those 4 teams for the last 3 slots. So shaping up for a pretty exciting Star Ladder Finals in Kiev.
Yeah, I think MVP Phoenix is going to have a rough run of it, to put it mildly.
Yeah.
Why are you looking at me?
You played with them.
No, they're legit, man.
Yeah.
They're legit.
They're gonna take. They're gonna take at least one game off someone.
Bold predictions.
They
from
took a game
Demon.
off someone at EMS. It was one of the weaker European teams, though.
For what?
That is pretty bold.
What?
They'll
Who-
take one
who, like,
game off of someone.
Who do you think they're
That's
most
pretty
likely to
bold.
take a game
Yeah,
off
who do you
of?
think they're gonna beat?
DK or IG seems like a real
no,
long
no,
shot.
No, that's a long shot. No, that's impossible. It's gonna.
Empire?
It's gonna be off. I say a chance against EG or one of the European teams.
EG, Rockskiss, Cloud9, those would be my top 3 for them to take a game off of.
Mm-hmm. They're kind of unpredictable in a sense, but who knows? I think they
Yeah.
will. I'm confident they will.
Have you watched MVP Phoenix?
I watch
recently?
all their games.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you still talk to them a lot and like
Yeah,
help them out?
I'm
or-
really familiar with them. I help them out on occasion, but March is always trying to bribe me to come back to Korea, but
That easy Korean money is not enough.
no,
No?
I don't do it for the money, Hildy.
You do it for the Korean women.
Do it for the
It's the
fans.
passion, dude.
The passion.
The passion, the dedication,
There you go.
the hard work. So let's talk about walkovers in Star Ladder a little bit. And this is one of these things when you get to the tail end of a group stage like this, the teams like, as we saw today, that know they're not going to make it into the top, they have very little incentive to finish out their last few matches. And from their perspective, it's no big deal. But for tournament organizers, it is kind of a big deal because when Star Ladder pitches events like this to sponsors, they guarantee a certain amount of matches, a certain number of average hours of sponsorship logos and viewership, and also just the advertising revenue that's lost from these matches not getting streamed. LD, talk to us about it a little bit. What's Star Ladder's take, perhaps, on the whole walkover? I imagine they're not too keen on these teams ditching out.
They haven't said anything publicly, but if I'm Starladder, I am furious because, like, okay, it's one thing if a team forfeits and neither team's in the running for the playoffs. Kind of sucks, not the biggest deal. But when a team forfeits, like Sigma forfeiting today against Navi, and it can have potential playoff repercussions, maybe even affecting another team's chance of getting into the playoffs, then you've got a problem. Especially if one of the teams that might be on the outs is a team like Alliance, who's got a lot of fans, a really big fan base, and just a lot of community support. So they kind of picked the wrong match to forfeit, I would say.
Yeah.
I think organizers are more likely to let it slide if it's not like, okay, let's say it's Aware versus Relax. Neither team's going to make the playoffs. Neither team's a huge fan favorite. Sure, it sucks. You lose an hour of content. Not the biggest deal. But
Right.
in this scenario, the way that I would look at it as an organizer is if you want people to take your tournament seriously, you have to put some penalties on them. Like forfeiting one match, okay, but if you're forfeiting 2-3 matches, maybe they don't get to go to they don't get to play next season. They have to requalify.
Yeah.
Like you, at some point, you just have to punish them for not respecting your event.
But what about a scenario like a team is disbanded and you have a lot of internal conflicts within the team? How would you go about that?
Well, there's no one to punish then, right? Because there's no team.
Yeah.
And I think that's what some of the teams are going through because TI4 qualifiers are coming up and teams are trying to make the best of a team and trying to reform or whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, in theory, you can take like the captain or 2 or 3 of the players who are sticking together and say like, you know what, you're biting the bullet for this one next season. But
Yeah.
I don't know if you can go that far. But if a team is sticking together and just blows off your event to go play another one, then you got a big problem.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think.
So tomorrow is a big day for Star Ladder, though. The conclusion of who will be making it into the top 4 for the EU group stage will be decided. Now, there's something else Star Ladder related we need to make mention of, and that is Star Ladder America. The finals did happen after last week's episode of In the Studio, and Jimmy here was actually participating in the finals. We had a pretty epic EG versus Liquid showdown. Jimmy, what went wrong in that series?
What went wrong? Are you talking about all 3 games or just...
Well,
You want me to just give you...
yeah, whatever you want. What was your take? It was a pretty close series. It did go all 3 games in the finals, and it was kind of a nail biter till the bitter end. What was the nail in the coffin? What was the one thing that EG had that Liquid plus Demon didn't?
And the people can't hear you, so you gotta project that beautiful
Gotta
voice.
Enunciate.
Well, I mean, at least in... I think it was Believe in was game 2, game 1. I don't know. One of the games. It's just all of the games. It's just what I feel is going on within the team at the moment is the fact that when we're ahead, we get too overconfident, a bit too cocky, and we start making bad plays. Just a lot of miscommunication overall within the team. And because of those, it's just like, let's say half the team is just like, let's go initiate on this guy, and the other half is like, no, let's play passive. I think that's the right idea. And because of that, we're stuck into an engagement, and once an engagement happens, is half the team is on the other side, and the other half is like fighting. We end up getting caught off, picked off because of it, and it's
Mhm.
just, I think that's just the best way to summarize throughout all of these games. It's just a lot of miscommunication, and that's just something
Okay.
we're trying to fix, and hopefully we improve in the next couple of weeks if I make it onto the team.
Yeah. So, what are the chances looking like here? Can you give us like an over/under, or is it likely that Demon will be the fifth member for Liquid? Is it still a total coin flip, or there?
Well, it's like it's a toss up for myself too, and I'm debating whether or not I want to play professionally.
Okay.
But
What would you do
what's the
if
backup
you
plan,
didn't
yeah.
play?
Be a mercenary?
so I guess so, man. I'm here with you today, aren't I?
Just come in when EG has a match and try and slay them.
BTS Demon, dude, and hopefully DK doesn't find a stand-in, so I can just they can hire me as well, and I can play for them in Kiev.
All right. Well, that
Got
could
some
be
big shoes
interesting.
to fill there in Lamb.
No, not really.
No?
I got this.
You didn't see his shaker at MLG?
No, that
Born
was,
in- born
that was pretty.
impressed?
That was pretty legit, man. But yeah, like overall though, I think EG is just one of the stronger teams at the moment, and one of the strongest teams. And like to add on top of that, they're not even using Fear, and I mean I think Mason is one of the best stand-in players that they do have and that they can use at the moment. But the fact that Fear brings a lot of experience onto the team, and that they're not even at the full potential yet. So I mean, we can see how intimidating they are once he's back.
We've seen a little chatter. I've seen some people say that EG should replace Fear with Mason. Do you still think Fear is the stronger player, or
I
Do you think
think
they're pretty equal?
I think they are pretty equal in terms of skill. Maybe Mason could be a bit better, but what I said is Fear brings a lot of experience onto the team, and because of that, it's just Mason's never been to a LAN, for example. When it comes to LAN, like, can Mason actually handle the pressure? Like Fear obviously can. He's been in the scene for over a decade, and ages, dude.
Crazy.
I was like ages. But, yeah. So.
Aeon Z?
So, yeah, for StarLadder America, it was more than just an epic tournament and epic final series. There was a mini debacle that went down. EG were under the impression that they would have a winner's bracket advantage. They did make it to the grand finals through the winner's bracket. They didn't lose a series. And one of the admins had claimed that they would have a one-game advantage going into the best-of-3 finals, which is like the biggest winner's bracket advantage I've ever heard of. That's you win one game and you're in. That's it.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, I didn't even understand that. It's like, oh yeah, one game, you just need one. Like, if they had a winner advantage,
Yeah.
if it was best of 5, it's understandable, it's
Yeah.
reasonable. But the fact that it was best of 3, like one game, they only needed to win one game, and they're into the finals of Kiev, one of the
Yeah.
biggest tournaments out there right now.
Yeah.
It's over $200,000 prize pool, and I thought that was ridiculous. And the fact, yeah, they made the rules before, but then you look at all the other qualifiers, like, I don't know, like it was in Korea,
Mhm.
China, there's no advantage.
Yeah,
And
no
then-
winner's bracket advantage.
And
So
we did check through the rules as well, and it was
Yeah.
legit.
yeah,
So-
that was the big problem. It turns out the admin that had claimed that, he told us, he told everyone else, he was just mistaken. There was no winner's bracket advantage, so EG were very disgruntled coming into that series. I remember that lobby chat vividly. There were some
both
flamethrowers.
teams were on tilt. First, Liquid
Yeah.
was on tilt when they thought it was going to be potentially one game and they're out, and then EG was on tilt when they found out they had to win 2 out of 3.
Yeah, that was one of those days you come downstairs like, oh, good, we've only got 1 or 2 games. Maybe it'll just be a quick 1-0. And 4 hours later, we're into that base race epic game 3, and it's just like, geez, what happened to today? LD after that cast was just like bright red face, no more words left. Just that was pretty epic. You casted.
Oh,
Your
I
heart
had
out.
more words.
Yeah.
I always had more words. But yeah, that was an epic game.
PPD, you mad, yo?
I think he was pretty mad actually. He
I know.
tweeted that he was
He
about
said approaching maximum tilt.
Yeah. Poor guy.
So what is the correct format then? Is it 1-0 for best of 5?
I think 1-0 best of 5.
What about
is,
TI?
Is where
TI
it's
is
at.
not that format. So should TI change it, or is everyone else just trying to follow
I don't know.
TI?
I mean, I see both sides of it, right? The reason why you don't want to have a winner's bracket advantage is because it makes the final series really epic. If you come in with a 1-game advantage, even in a best of 5,
It's demoralizing.
it's demoralizing. And if you have that finals that just ends in a quick 2-0, that's like the worst case scenario for a finals. And best case scenario being an epic 5 games and a fight till the bitter end, basically TI3 grand finals. That's an ideal finals scenario. So. What is the right format, Jimmy? What do you think for a star ladder like this? What would you have liked to see if you were making?
You mean
rules?
the qualifiers?
Yeah, for the qualifier to get in.
I believe it should have been a best of 5 and 1-game advantage for them. I think it would have been fair. Otherwise, like their other formats kind of similar, best of 3, no game advantage. I mean, there's only not that many teams in the American qualifiers.
What about giving a first pick, first side advantage to the winners bracket team in a best
That's
of
completely
3?
fine because I do believe to an extent that winner winner bracket do deserve an advantage.
Mhm.
But the fact that the teams that do come from a loser bracket or from the lower bracket, they have to work hard for it because you play much
Right.
more games. You play double, 2.5 times amount of the games, something like that, right?
Yeah.
You play
depends how
double,
big the bracket
yeah.
is,
You
but
play
yeah.
double amount of the games, and it's just you really have to work your way up there. And then while the winner bracket, you just won 1 or 2 games, and you're already
Mhm.
there. So I mean, like I said, it honestly goes both ways. It's just however the tournament wants to
Right.
go about it.
I mean, honestly, double elimination is just like a worse spectator format from my point of view. Every tournament uses it because it gives you more games, more content. It keeps the big name teams in the tournament longer, even if they're not having a good run.
Yeah.
And it's still not that difficult to follow, but why not single elimination? I mean, let's say like you're getting enough viewers, you're making enough money that from ads and from your other revenue, you're keeping your sponsors happy. Every game in single lim, you know the stakes. You lose, you're out. Double lim, it's like, well, you lose, you drop down, this team will be waiting. It gets confusing to explain to the viewers. Then you have things like how much of an advantage should you have in the grand finals if you get there. If you look at like almost any professional sport, especially in the U.S., the NFL, NCAA, the World Cup has group stages, and then it's just a straight bracket after that. So like almost any professional sport just uses single elimination. But
I did like how there's 2 tournaments I really like their format. MLG, for example, was a good one that they used. It was groups. Was it called group stage? Yeah.
yeah, it was like pool. They call pool play, I think.
Pool
and
play,
then
and then every
single
team,
and
and then 4
like that.
teams. 4 teams advance, and another one was where I forgot what tournament it was. Alliance won it in China. There was like
G1. I
G1,
believe.
and then yeah, it was like six or 7 teams or something, and then whoever gets the most points advances automatically to the grand finals, and then like whoever has less amount of points. I think it was like 4 teams that advance, or 5 teams, and they play from like stage 1, stage 2, and then you meet the Alliance in the finals.
Yeah, that's called the bubble race. So like
Bubble
if you're
race.
if you're 5th, you play the 4th place team, and then the winner of that plays the 3rd place team, and it's just like a bubble that keeps.
I
going
like
up and up.
I like both of those formats because it's pretty much
okay.
single elimination, and I think they have the right idea there.
That's interesting.
The only thing with bubble race is it's like a little confusing, I guess, for people who haven't heard of it before. But once you get the hang of it, it's not that hard.
Once the bracket is pretty visually simplistic, but I'm actually a big fan of simplicity. I hate it when there's a tournament that's like MLG used to be really bad about this with StarCraft, or they would have these like this epic pool play, and then pool play would move into a bracket, and then the bracket would be seeded based on pool play. Then there'd be another bracket after the top. It was just this like giant web, and you couldn't really digest what was going on. And I like sort of like you mentioned, the NFL, when it's playoff time, it's just one game and you're out. It's pretty easy to understand.
Now, the main argument against that is you've got a tournament like the International 4 or most major LAN tournaments. It's not just like first place gets money and everyone else gets nothing. It's like a staggered level of prizes. So in single lim, a lot of it can come down to luck who you play against early on. So if you play the first place team in the first round, you may finish like bottom 4, bottom 8, whatever the case is, and get like the minimum money or no money at all. But if there's only like prizes or something of value to be gained for first place, then single lim is perfect. So
Yeah.
Other argument is, in theory, group stage should give you proper seeding. So the
Yeah.
team that goes 7-0 should be the 1 seed. They should play the worst seed.
Yeah,
The
that's true.
team that goes 5-3, 4-4, whatever.
Ben, what do you think?
I kind of like the more complicated formats. I think
Oh yeah.
that the
Of
difference.
course you do.
Well, I think the difference in between like 4 and 5 for Starlighter is a big difference. You either go to the lands or you get nothing, right?
Mhm.
That's a really big difference as opposed to a bubble race where like 5th seed has a slight disadvantage compared to 4th seed and so on and so forth. And in international, like everyone gets money, so it's not as bad. But if you're looking at Starlighter or even TI3 group stage, right? The top 4 out of the 8 teams in each bracket, they advance to the winners bracket, and bottom 4 advance to the losers bracket. So they lose 1 round, they're out. And there's a really big difference between 4 and 5. And I think that's, I mean, you can't avoid it all the time, but at the same time, I do think that there should be like a slight advantage in between each of the seeds as opposed to one huge gap.
Okay, that's fair enough. I see where you're coming from. So
I don't think double lim's going anywhere, but
yeah, that
I wouldn't
seems
mind
to
a
be
change
the
of
I don't
case.
like double them.
The tried and true format. It seems.
Even
that
at,
everyone's
so you wouldn't
comfortable
agree with it at TI either?
it's just like the way the prize pool works. So there's so much money at TI. Like teams should have as many chances as possible because one bad game for a team that's done well all tournament, like do they suddenly get no money or the same money as a team that just had a worse group stage and has a tough opponent first round?
with. Yeah.
It's hard to
Or
say.
opponent. It's about play styles too. So it's like this team is probably better than this, but because their play style is more superior than theirs, and it's just one team beats the other.
That's true.
So moving forward here, guys, we've got a couple last points we want to hit before we move into our Road to TI segment. Up next, not a huge discussion point, but Fluff and Stuff already back on that horse. No no wait time. He's going to be joining IX Mike on the Wild Witch Doctors, but they've got a new name. They're now the Sneaky Nyx Assassins.
The SNA.
It's
Nah.
Ix Mike, Fluff,
SNA,
Sna,
Whitebeard.
Ush,
Whitebeard?
and Whitebeard, yeah, that's the fifth. I'm not familiar with Whitebeard. Who
I mean,
He
He's on
played for
old
Fnatic
Fnatic
NA.
Well, Fluff needs to write a blog about this because I need to be more familiar with this team. Otherwise, no one will ever know.
Yeah.
Yeesh.
Ouch.
Well, he did do a video blog.
Oh, he did?
He had like an hour, well, not video, but audio blog. He had like an hour and a half interview with Epi.
Oh.
Epi does these things called Epi chats, where like he basically has like a really long, like in-depth conversation with people. I actually find them really interesting, and if you want to know more about Fluff and where he's at right now, then he's done the closest thing to a blog, Jimmy. Maybe you should go listen.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So put it on in the car, you know, when you're going to work or head to the gym. A little motivational
The speech,
conversation with Epi. Get yourself pumped
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
in between
boy.
shots of Cellucor.
Get pumped up with the Fluff
Get
blog.
pumped up with Fluff. There you go.
Pump the
Oh
floor.
man! So really just wanted to mention that to follow up on the story. We talked about Fluff a lot in past weeks, so glad to see he's found a new home. IX Mike welcoming him with open arms. I can only assume. So up next, before we get into more TI talk, we want to talk about the workshop that was making headlines this week. The workshop equality, and we're actually going to have a special call-in guest here.
Not ready yet, so.
Not quite ready, but we'll have him coming on in just a moment. Pro players, what do you guys have any thoughts about workshop or cosmetics? Do you guys care at all, or as players are you just all focused around balance and patches, and you ain't got no time for
I
those
just want to win, dude.
pretty cosmetics?
I'm
yeah?
about the latter part. I
just
mean,
all about the so you
cosmetics
guys
are nice. If there were no cosmetics in the game, I wouldn't really care.
You would,
So, like,
I mean, I know it's important for Valve to make money, and I realize that it's important for that sake. But for
Yeah.
me personally, if there were no cosmetics, then
K-pop Toastus points out a good
Whatever.
point. You have a set in the store,
All
don't
right, I
you?
do, I
so
do.
you should
Oh,
get a little more.
right. Oh, right. I
oh yeah, that's the only legit set out there. But check
What
it out.
set is it?
do you even know?
the
Do we
What
even
is
have it?
wrong with
I
The guy
just-
posted on Reddit, and you're like, "Oh, this looks
he's
really
like
cool."
one of my mods on stream, and he just like, I'm gonna make you a set, and it just came out. And I was like, oh, cool, it looks cool, dude. It's like, do you approve of it? I was like, okay, and then that's that,
the,
dude.
the poor guy posted it on Reddit for feedback, and you were like, "Oh, this looks kind of cool." And the way you replied made it sound like you had not actually seen the set before and didn't know it was yours.
I seen it like once.
What hero is it for?
Bat Rider, dude.
Oh, it's Bat
It's
Rider.
like the Bat Rider demon set or something.
Oh, that's nice. That's
It's
good.
called the Demon Rider, isn't it?
Is
The
it
Demon Rider. Yeah. LD with the knowledge. Look at this guy over here.
The set is swole.
I mean, if you don't want your
swole.
revenue, I'm happy to sign on.
It
on
sounds
your
like
behalf.
Jimmy could use a manager here.
Yeah, I'll be your
here,
business
LD.
manager, Jimmy.
I already signed it off, so
10%.
10%.
Yeah.
No.
There you go.
There you go.
It's a deal.
So, the workshop is. Oh, here we go.
Oh yeah, I'm calling him now.
Who is that?
So we have Tiago here, TV Doto. Tiago, you with us?
I think yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Hopefully everything's working good. We have you on webcam. Tiago, for anyone who doesn't know, made Elgato. I think you're most well known for your animation work in the workshop, but you also do some design and 3D modeling as well.
My camera is working. Just to
Yeah.
you know.
We have
Okay.
your camera, and I'm sure that they'll cut to it soon.
There you go.
How you doing?
Hello guys, how are you?
Hi.
We're very well. Thank you for making
Uh,
some time for us. So,
Thanks for inviting me.
yeah. Well, we're excited to actually get somebody that's well known in the workshop to talk about these issues a little bit. Give us your take. What's the skinny on the state of the workshop right now? Do you like the way it's working, or is some of this drama that's popped up warranted? What's your take on this kind of whole situation?
Yeah, I think it is this kind of drama that happened was something that was going to happen one day. There's a lot of things that can cause that are causing that. Like the workshop is growing really fast. If we compare like last year and this year, we have a lot more submission and the quality of the work are growing. So every time is even harder to get something in the game. What else? We have problems. We experience some low level items, low quality items with bundle with tournaments. I'm using quotes here because quality is something that's personal, right? It's hard to maybe I like, maybe you don't. You cannot discuss that. It's like I don't know, religion. You cannot discuss that. Everyone have a personal taste. So some guys got a little mad with that. There's also some. It's not so. How can I say? The frequency of items getting in game are not as it used to be. So some guys are feeling that it's unfair. How can I say? It's not fair. It's not fair because it's a competition and it's not always related to quality. Sometimes is what the last word is always from Valve, right? So
Right.
sometimes they want we want a set for Void, what we have for Void, and there is nothing new, just something old. And maybe there's a lot of other sets really good for, I don't know, Legion Commander, Pudge, and something like that, but they're not getting added because they want something for Void. It's it sounds a little unfair because some months ago, I think, it was quite normal that the top sets were getting game, and it's kind of not happening every time. So that's one of the reasons. I wrote some things aqui that I should not forget. Another thing that happened too and caused this thing, a lot of people create expectation with the workshop. Some guys like me just work on the workshop, just do things for Dota. And it's a little hard, it's a little frustrating when you work like for months and all your work is ignored or rejected. So it's kind of it's demotivational, you know. And a lot of all those things together kind of created this bad mood on the guys. What else? We had the problem with that guy selling votes, right? The Empire Heavens that doesn't work for Empire but have the name Empire. And
the Workshop Mafia.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Workshop Mafia, yeah. And what else?
Have you had any dealings with him out of curiosity? Has Heaven ever offered you many upvotes in exchange for some favors?
No, he never talked with me. But when everyone discovered about this guy, I added him on Twitter to know what is happening, and he added me back, and oh my god, he's going to try to talk with me, but no, never. But that's a good discussion about what's the point that is it wrong to do on the workshop?
So
because
I guess
sorry.
like some of the comments I have seen that got the most traction from the community was one, like Valve is not treating people equally. So for example, if you're like TV Doto or you're Anuxi or you're just one of the other big workshop creators, you have an easier time getting Valve's ear. They have special mailings where they'll explain stuff to you. I know in some cases, like their guidelines are out of date. We decided we wanted to make an HUD for BTS, and this was like 4 or 5 months ago, and the guidelines were way out of date. They had added stuff like load screens as functionality, but the guide didn't explain it. And I'm just, I don't know anything about the workshop, so I was just stumbling through like an idiot, and had to eventually. I think I eventually asked you and some other people, and I got pointed in the right direction. But not everyone has, knows people who are bigger names in the workshop. So I think one area where there's the biggest concern is just communication line to Valve. Not everyone has the same. And then I guess the second area is kind of tournament bundling. It's like a special case.
Yeah, tournament bundling is something that is worrying a lot of people because on the last updates, if you check, there's more tournament items than normal items. So some guys are concerned that they need to bundle their items to get in game. So you need to reduce the value of your item, like sell for a lower price because there's no price defined. It's all based on sales.
You're sharing the revenue. You don't get
all
of your share for yourself anymore.
Yeah, you have to give a share. Reduce the time that's going to be sell, because it's. I don't know if it stays on the workshop selling after. I'm not sure.
I believe it's generally, if it's with a tournament, it's not available on its own, but there might be exceptions.
Okay, so you are sharing the revenue. You are maybe reducing the time that's going to be sell just to get in game because you need some kind of backup. It's that what people are a little concerned about. And if you compare, quality is personal, right? But if you compare some items that got with tournaments and some items on the workshop, you see a huge difference of votes and the amount of work that people spend. The time that you work on something doesn't say that it's going to be better or not. But sounds a little unfair. If you work on something like 2 or 3 days and a guy that worked 1 month on something and everyone says that it's better and the better item doesn't get in and the other one gets. So it sounds a little unfair. And about what you asked of
well, I kind of want to bounce something off you for that. So, like in our experience designing a bundle for the summit and for other tournaments in the past, it's kind of tricky as an organizer, right? Because ideally you'd love to get like the most kick-ass, awesome item imaginable, add it to your bundle. Problem is, items that are that good generally can get in on their own, and so it's very difficult to find a deal with the workshop creator where something that's awesome already in the workshop, ready to go, where they want to make a deal with you. And if they do, they normally want a lot, to the point where you're probably better off in terms of like just your ability to be sustainable, earn enough money from the ticket revenue to cover costs, just to do it with no item at all at some point. So, like for example, if workshop creator wants like 90% of the workshop share that doesn't go to Valve, it doesn't matter how good the item is. You're going to make more money for the tournament and cover costs better if you just don't have an item at all, unless it's like a really small, not so known tournament. So to me, it just feels like a balancing act. Like getting the best items becomes too costly for the tournament, but you also don't want to you don't want like a ultra crappy item. And so ultimately, I guess the natural result is items that are really good get in on their own. And so there's like a pool of items that are kind of left, right? And those items maybe not quite as good, still pretty good. I mean, what are tournament organizers supposed to do? Because workshop creators, they ultimately are the ones who create these items. They can decide if they want to bundle or not. And if it's really good, why would they bundle? It's got to be a really big tournament, A, and they've got to be getting a good enough percentage, B, to make up for the fact that they're not keeping all the revenue. So I think it's just like, from the organizer's perspective, it's kind of complicated. And for the creators, you can understand they'd rather just put it in on their own if they're going to make more money. But yeah, I feel like it's just a little tricky.
It's a good point. It's a good point to talk about, because if you think your item is good enough to get in the game alone, why you're going to share it? It makes a lot of sense what said. And I don't know, it's something really tricky to get into. Like what I see happening these days is some tournaments or some organizations going back to items that was not accepted and offering the guy that made if they want to bundle with some tournament or something like that. So I don't know, it's a trick situation, because if it's not going to accept it, never, you're going to lose the job. So even if you get a really small amount of money, it's something. But
right, like you said, you already invested the time in it. So
yeah.
I guess we do want to wrap this up, but before you go, where can people follow you, support you? I know that you do stream your own workshop creations sometimes.
Yeah, normally I stream, I think, daily, not on Sundays, but it's all the other days.
And it's twitch.tv/T_Vidoto, is that correct?
No underscore, just TVDoto.
TVDoto. And Twitter is?
Some guys think that is TV Idoto, but no.
Okay. And Twitter is twitter.com/TVDoto, or was that right?
I think it is, yeah.
Okay.
I think it is.
Well, thanks, Thiago.
I don't know if I answered all your questions.
No, you answered a lot, and we appreciate getting the perspective of someone who actually does workshop stuff on a daily basis. So thanks for coming on, and we look forward to hopefully speaking with you in the future, buddy.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Bye-bye. Cheers.
Cheers.
All right, so that takes us to the end of our first part of 3 for today's episode. And coming up next, we're going to do our new segment, Road to TI. And we've been talking about this one for a while, and we're excited that we finally have some public announcements from Valve about TI where we can start theory crafting. There's 11 teams that will be invited and 4 teams that will qualify through qualifier tournaments. And you're going to get our power rankings and kind of our group discussion about who we think the 11 invites will be and the most likely 4 teams to qualify. So we'll have a short break here, and then coming up next, Road to TI 4 from Beyond the Summit.